My mom told me she had been heavily involved in voodoo and been a white witch and priestess. Nowadays, I think possibly she was choosing me to carry on her legacy. Hello everybody, welcome back to GLiiDeR TV. In today's video, I'm going to be reading comments and stories that I asked people on Reddit about like if they had any paranormal encounters. And so I'm going to be reading some of those and some other stories that I saved so that I can read to you guys because it's October, it's spooky season. Like if you want me to do it even when it's not October, I'll be down to do it because I love stories like this, especially if it's like real life experiences. So yeah, let's get started with the video, right? But wait, I forgot to add. So if you like my channel or my videos, subscribe because once I get to 200, you'll be seeing me get pied in the face with my brother. So if you want to see that happen, subscribe to my channel and we'll see what goes from there. But anyways, let's get back to the video. Alright, so here we go with the first one. This is from Kit10Cat Astro. So it says, my mom went out of town for a week about a 16-hour drive away. Just a couple of months before that she brought home an old box TV, one of those big bulky ones that weighs a ton, and the remote was lost ages ago, so you had to get up and push the buttons. After a few days of having the TV, it would randomly turn itself on and off. I always had paranormal experiences in our house, but they were almost always just the feeling of something watching me. Later on, I began to hear what sounded like heavy footsteps in our attic, which was odd because our attic was very small with not much room to walk around, and the ceiling was maybe 4 feet above the floor of the attic. More of a crawl space, really. Well, anyhow, my mom leaves town to go see some relatives, and immediately the first night I begin to hear what sounds like something walking around above me in the living room. I try and ignore it and finish watching whatever show was on Adult Swim at the time. Then I start to hear the floor creak in the kitchen, and I know exactly where you have to stand to make the floor creak because at the same time I had been living there for at least a decade. My dog is sleeping next to me, and I keep nudging him to wake up. And then suddenly, the TV turns off. He stirs awake and looks into the kitchen, seemingly at nothing. I go and turn the TV on, and then I start getting that overwhelming feeling I'm being watched again, and then the TV shuts off again. See, the thing with the TV is it never shut on or off and at timed intervals. It was always random. My mom had wrote it off as an electrical issue since it wasn't such an old TV. Old as in 90s. So I go and turn it back on, and then wake up with my dog again and sit down and pet him for a while, when out of nowhere right in front of me I hear a cat meow. I flipped. Sugar honey iced tea. We didn't have a cat, and the sound came out of nowhere right in front of me, and my dog and Theasis even jumped and looked to where the sound came from. Then the TV turned itself off again. I never went to sleep that night and continued to hear the floors creaking through the house as if someone was pacing back and forth. The next day, I packed a bag and went and stayed at my best friend's until my mom got back. After that, if my mom ever went on another trip, I made sure I had company or went to another friend's house. The TV never stopped turning on and off during the daytime, but mostly at night, and it always happened when I was in the living room. Not once when I was asleep in my room right across from the living room did it ever turn on or off. Only when my mom or I were in front of it. Still gives me the creeps to this day. I would be freaked out too, especially because hearing a cat meow. I hate cats. I don't like cats. They're scary and mysterious. It's really crazy. Just like to have like that TV turn on and off when sitting in front of it. That's scary. Let's get started with this one. So here is from Pure Mojo 39. Okay, I will share one with you. Don't think it's paranormal though. So I was asked to sit for a tattoo on my chest because there was no other woman willing. And as it was a friend of mine, I decided it couldn't hurt. I chose the 7 chakras. but did not insert any symbols as I just wanted the chakras, no specific religion ones. My friend got a nice picture from the internet, and although it had symbols, it kind of looked cool, so I decided to go with that design. That night, as I went to bed, my fiance was just playing World of Warcraft in the bedroom, and I dozed off. In my dream, this ugly hag creature came and sat on top of my chest. She had her hands pushing down on my chest where the tattoo was done. I started praying and told her, in the name of Jesus, go away from here. As I woke up right after that, my lungs was filled with water. I sprang up immediately, running to the bathroom, and clear water came out of my mouth and I could not breathe. I vomited up clear water for a while, and my fiance was really freaked out. Told him what happened, and we googled the symbols. Turns out it's the chakras of Lilith. Next morning, when we took a look at the wall right by my head, there were clear, huge hand marks and weird shaped foot, looking like it was climbing down the walls towards my head where I slept. I don't know what chakras are, so I asked this person what it was. And Pure Mojo said, chakras are your energy point in your body, and I meditate on them for healing and to get rid of negative energies or emotions. I am an empath. No, nothing happened after that, as I was clearing my energies and only try to interact with positive energies, but the negativity does seep through. I had a few experiences before that, and I have picked up on other energies afterwards. That's really interesting, especially with like the the water coming up in her lungs and she was throwing up everything, and then seeing that on the wall. Pretty creepy. Alright, so I'm just gonna point out that there are some curse words in here, but I don't really cuss because there's no need to cuss for me. So I'll just kind of like say another thing that matches it. So here we go. Here is from Ghostwall _. I'ma tell ya, but it's kind of surprising. I was at home celebrating with my best friend of 12 years, and due to some sugar honey iced tea I did, my dad grounded the sugar honey iced tea out of my arse. No birthday party and no present. And I need to tell something about where I live. It's in Brazil, the capital nonetheless, and around winter we usually have a very hot and dry weather resulting in some forest fires. It's kind of normal, even though some are actually human activity. There are some that are natural as well. And my birthday is in November, and normally by the end of September we have rain falling not stop. That's actually how we have a colder summer. It's really humid. Anyhow, me and my friend were playing video games and something weird happens. The whole block gets surrounded by smoke like sulfur, which is weird by November. It's normal when we have big fires and it gets really big and uncontrollable for a few days, but that would have been impossible. The news were quiet, no signal of any big forest fires anywhere were close. We as kids didn't think of it too much about it and just closed the door that leads to the porch and kept on playing. And let me tell you, I live on a 6th-floor building, and the porch has a safety net. It's a biggish glass door, and since we were sleeping on the couch, we could see everything outside the window, even though the smoke blocked a lot of the visibility. Back to the story. At some point of the night, we just fell asleep. I was sleeping directed to the porch door, and about some time in the middle of the night, I woke up and saw someone standing on my porch just outside the glass door. And due to either being at the 2nd floor, the porch had a safety net, as did all the windows in the apartment. There was no way anybody normal could climb it and pass through the net without cutting it. And let me tell you, I was terrified. I remember wanting to scream so bad for help from my mom, which was about 15 feet from us. But something made me freeze. I couldn't muster a word. It felt as if this thing was trying to toy with me, seeing me completely in despair, as it watched, not even being to cry for help. I am not sure how long it must have watched us, though I know it must have been for long. However, it felt like hours. It went away when my mother, who was really sweating from the heat, having one of the main points of air circulation in the house closed off, came running and opened the door, and I guess I must have said to her, "Don't," because whatever was out there, but then she opened it and there was nothing. No man or smoke, which was a lot, by the way. The next morning I talked to my friend, and he said he saw it too. It was completely frozen, and couldn't speak or move as well. That's it. Sorry for the long story. I find that um, really interesting, mainly because, like, because me, I'm kind of skeptical about this stuff. So, what if it was just like if you're sleeping and then you wake up, you kind of like imagine some things? But I mean, like, if it was something like this, that, like, I know for sure I would be freaked out, and I probably wouldn't even tell, like, what it is. Or, like, if it's a dream or if it's, like, sleep paralysis or something. Um, but yeah, that was a crazy story. Alrighty, so this is another story from Eileen. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Eileen underscore Smith 82. It's called Hellevator, Elevator to Hell. So here is the story. I had to post one of my weirdest stories because I need to know, has anyone ever experienced anything like this? It's certainly scary AF. I was 10 and living in Texas. It was the middle of summer and we couldn't afford to go to a pool or anything. So my mom would take me and my best friend Jay to the library to read. After we were done, we always played in the elevator that went from the first floor to the second. We'd race, time it, jump out of it, and just be weird. I used to do that too with my cousins. Um, so this one time, I was waiting for the elevator to come up and open so I could get in and go down as Jay ran down the stairs to meet me. But as I stood there alone, the doors opened up, and it was full of people. The people looked dead-eyed. They all stared straight forward, and I remembered the light did not glint off their eyes. They had deadpan faces, just no expression or emotion at all. But that wasn't the worst part. In the front, wearing a three-piece black suit, black coat, black gloves, black hat, and holding an umbrella, was a thin man with a white goatee. He smiled at me, and all he said was, "There's room for one more." I nearly freaked out. No thanks," I said, backing away. I couldn't make sense of what was happening. These people, who are they, and where were they going? There was no third floor. A second later, the handsome man, still grinning at me widely, the doors closed. I watched the elevator go down and came back up, empty. Jay came running up the stairs. "Eileen, what happened?" he asked out of breath. "Why weren't you on the elevator?" I blurted out, "What? Why? Didn't you see all those weird people on the elevator? I wasn't getting on that." I'll never forget what he said next. There was nobody on the elevator. I made him swear on his mother's life that he was telling the truth. He was more visibly shaken than I even was. I was petrified. What just happened? What would have happened if I gotten on it? And who was the dapper old man and the cow-eyed people? If anybody has a similar experience, please, I am dying to know. I need to know if I'm not alone in this. By the way, about a year later, a book came out with a similar story on it. I was convinced I was being watched for a very long time because art kept imitating my life, but that's another story, I guess. Man. Like you're in front of these random elevators and it opens and you just see like these people in there just looking all. Ay, ay, that's some scary stuff. Alright, so this one is going to be the last story that I'm going to read. This is from the same person, Eileen Smith, 82. And if you guys enjoyed the video, I'll most likely I'll do a part 2 on Halloween, so y'all can be, looking out for that. And if y'all want me to make more of these episodes even after Halloween is over, I'm down for that. So, yeah. Alright, so let's get started with this last story. So it's called Spirits. So I understand people are interested in what has happened to me, and I'm grateful. I never garnered acceptance for my experiences. This post will be about the first ghost I'd known. When I was 8 to 11, I had a lot of my first paranormal activity. I lived in a house in a small town in Texas near a creek, where there was wild land and a highway nearby. Prime area for paranormia. I remember I was walking from my kitchen to my living room, and I stopped to pet my cat. The air grew very still. It was like being underwater. All the sound outside was muted and far away. The animals in my house seemed docile and calmed by something, and time itself seemed to slow. Curiously, I looked up, and next to my bird's cage was a woman, solid as my wall. My first thought was, who is it and how did she get in here? Until I saw her feet. They were 16 inches off the floor. She was older, hair up in a bun, glasses, and wearing a white dress. She raised her hand and pointed at me so slowly. The phone rang and I jumped. I had instinctively looked at it to my right, but when I stared back at it again, the woman was gone. The sound came crashing back in. I leapt onto the phone. It was my mom, and I instantly related the whole story to her. She said she didn't know who it could have been. 4 months after, Mom and I would be baking or cooking in the kitchen, and we would turn around to find the oven and stove turned fully off. We each thought the other was doing it until one day it happened right behind us, both as we joked about it. We didn't joke about it again. About a year later, I was visiting my grandmother in Colorado. I was going through some old photo albums, bored out of my mind when I saw it. The picture of my great aunt. It was her, the lady I've been seeing in the living room. I couldn't explain it, but the woman who had died just before I was born was in my living room. My mom told me she had been heavily involved in voodoo and been a white witch and priestess. Nowadays, I think possibly she was choosing me to carry on her legacy. She was only the first in several spirits I've encountered so far in my life. Bit I, but I still feel her name. Wait. But I still feel her with me. I'm a practicing Macayan priestess too today, and I feel I have her to thank for that. She was my first ancestor to upon me, and for that I am grateful. Let me know if these sort of normalish stories about my everyday paranormal activity are as interesting to you guys. It's all relative, I guess, but not everything that happens to me is downright terrifying. Terrifying. My bad. But wow. That's really interesting. I really like hearing stories about this because I don't know, it just like blows my mind that people experience this, and I really want to like believe in it, but like, I just can't because I rather experience it myself. So like, I don't know, I feel like the only way I would want to do that is to go to the Stanley Hotel and just see what happens from there or whatever. Um but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Um, it was one that I've been wanting to do in October because, it's spooky season. A lot of people like hearing scary things. And if you liked hearing all these scary stories, and if you want me to ask for more requests like on Reddit, then I'll do that so I can make a part two. Most likely I am going to make a part two for Halloween week. So yeah, I hope you guys stick around for the next upcoming videos coming soon. And I will see you guys next time. So deuces.